Good morning. For our devotion this morning, I want to tell you one of my favorite stories. It's about a boy named Louis. Louis was 7 years old, and he was your typical 7-year-old boy. He was perpetually bored. He had a room full of stuff, but none of it really gave him any enjoyment anymore. He watched a lot of TV, but it was really just something he did to pass the time. It wasn't something that he had a lot of fun doing either. One Saturday morning, Louis, for about the 10th time, said to his mom, "I'm bored, there's nothing to do." At this point, his mom had had enough, and so she exiled Louis outside. Louis protested and he said, "What am I going to do outside?" And his mom said, "I don't care, you figure it out." And so Louis left. He decided he'd spend his time exploring the woods behind his house. He could usually find something to do in there. So after about 15 minutes of walking in the woods, he came across this clearing, this place in the woods that he didn't remember seeing before. As he got closer, he realized the clearing was actually this beautifully tended garden, and in the middle of the garden, on the top of a small hill, was an old well. And Louis ran up to the well and did exactly what any good 7-year-old boy would do. He peered over the edge and he looked down and he shouted, "Hello!" into the well, waiting to hear his voice echo back up. But it wasn't his voice he heard echo back in reply. It was an older, deeper voice, which sounded right next to him, saying, "Hello." Louis jumped back in surprise and fright, ready to run for home, and what he saw was this old gardener standing there with a smile on his face. The man quickly introduced himself and explained that he was the gardener, the person who took care of this garden. And then noticing him looking at the well, the gardener said, I notice you found my well. It's a very old well, and it's magical. Every so often, something appears outside of it, and anyone who's here in the garden can enjoy it for as long as it lasts." Now, at this point, Louis was looking at the old man as if he had gone completely crazy. But then out of the corner of his eye, he saw a new bike propped up beside the well where there had been nothing moments before. Louis looked at the bike, and then he looked at the gardener. The gardener smiled and nodded and then went back to his business. Louis cautiously approached the bike, looked at it, felt it to make sure it was real, and then climbed on and began riding down the path. But no sooner had he gotten on than the bike disappeared out from underneath him and he landed on the ground with a thud. Louis jumped up, angry about what had just happened, but then saw, sitting beside the well, the costume of his favorite superhero, along with all of the accessories that go with it. So he quickly scrambled up out of the dirt and ran to the side of the well, and picked up the costume and began playing. But again, after a few minutes, everything disappeared. And it continued like this for some time in procession. A procession of all the things that Louis loved appeared by the side of this well, and then after only a few minutes, they disappeared. Now, as this happened, at first, Louis was angry and upset that these things that he loved kept vanishing because he wanted to keep them. Towards the end of the afternoon, he began just to enjoy the things for the time that he had them, and he didn't worry so much when they disappeared. Finally, as the sun was going down, he heard a voice calling his name in the distance. "Louis! Louis!" His mother. So Louis went to find the gardener. When he found him, he said, "I've got to leave. My mom's calling me for dinner, but I'm going to come back tomorrow. Will you be here?" The gardener looked at him and said sadly, "No, Louis, you won't be able to find this place again tomorrow. But I want to give you a gift, something to remind you of today. Think of it as a miniature copy of this well." And so he handed Louis a small box. Louis quickly stuffed it in his pocket and he ran towards home. And later that evening, after dinner, he went up into his bedroom, he closed the door, he took out the box and he opened it. And inside, he found a working pocket watch. Louis thought this was odd. How could this thing be a copy of this well. So here's your Bible verse for today. Paul writes in Ephesians chapter 5, "Look carefully then how you walk, not as unwise but as wise, making the best use of the time, because the days are evil." God has given us a gift each day, a gift of time. There are no guarantees with this gift. We don't know how long we have on this earth. He's given us 24 hours in every day, and so often our days are filled with things that are completely out of our control. We're called and encouraged by God to enjoy the time that He's given us, to enjoy the people that He's given us, and the things that He's given us while we have them and while they last. I hope you enjoy the time God has given you today.